Okay, let's dive into something, well, kind of surprising. The world of lunch.
Right. Something you do every day, probably don't think twice about it.
Exactly. But we've been digging through this source material, and honestly, it's packed. There's history, science, culture, so much going on with just, eating midday.
The sources really break it down, like, where did lunch even come from?
Yeah, and why is it so different everywhere? Plus, what's it actually doing to you physically?
And the social side, too, which is fascinating.
So that's our plan today. We're going to pull out the key stuff, the really interesting bits from all this material.
Yeah, the unexpected facts, maybe some useful takeaways.
Hopefully give you a totally new way to think about this everyday thing. So get ready. There's a lot to chew on, you could say.
Ah, nice one.
Okay, first up, a big question from the sources. Did people, always eat lunch?
And the short answer, no. Not really, not like we do now.
Right. The sources say if you go way back, like ancient Greece or Rome, it was mostly 2 meals, morning and evening.
That's the standard picture, yeah. This idea of a proper midday meal, it started creeping in more in Europe, maybe around the Middle Ages. But even the word lunch, it's newer than you might think. It comes from luncheon, which itself meant something pretty small, like just a little snack between meals.
Huh. So not a big sit-down thing initially.
Not at all. The real game changer, according to the sources, was the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
We're talking 18th, 19th centuries, Europe, America.
Okay, so why then? What changed?
Well, think about it. Suddenly you have masses of people doing really hard physical work.
All right.
Fields, factories, long hours.
Right, hard labor.
They needed energy midway through the day, needed fuel, basically, to keep going. They couldn't wait until dinner like people might have before. It was a physical necessity.
Ah, okay, so it literally fueled the workforce. But how did it go from being just for, factory workers to, well, everyone? Students, office workers, us.
It seems like once that pattern, that 3-meal structure, got locked in because of work schedules, it just sort of spread.
Became the norm.
Yeah, exactly. It filtered out. It fit the new rhythm of life, the industrialized day. So that midday break, that refuel, wasn't just for laborers anymore. It just became the way things were done.
Wow. Necessity really drove, though. Okay, so it has this industrial origin story, but let's look around the world now, because the sources make it super clear. Lunch is definitely not the same everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. It varies wildly.
Like the sources point to Spain, lunch there is often the main event, right? The biggest meal.
Totally. Often multiple courses and eaten later, like 2 or 3 p.m. Much more leisurely.
And then you jump over to, say, Japan. What do the sources say about that?
Well, you often see things like rice, fish, vegetables.
Yeah.
And bento boxes are huge, those cool little containers with all the
I
compartments.
do love those. So organized.
And then think about India. Lunch might be rice, curries, maybe some dal, like lentils and flatbreads, chapati, maybe.
Sounds amazing. And Mexico. The sources mentioned comida.
Yeah, the comida, their midday meal, is often the main meal too. Could be soup, then maybe some meat, tortillas, veggies. Pretty substantial.
It's just so different from, say, the US or the UK standard.
Right, where it's often much lighter. A sandwich, soup, maybe a salad, and earlier, usually around noon.
So why? Why all these differences? The sources must have some ideas.
They do, and it's kind of 2 big things. First, climate seems to play a role.
Makes sense.
In hotter places, it often makes sense to eat later, maybe take a longer break during the hottest part of the day, like the idea of a siesta.
Argue with the heat, yeah.
Whereas in colder places, the whole daily schedule might be different, leading to eating earlier, maybe less heavy food midday.
Okay, climate. What's the other factor?
The other big one is just culture, tradition.
How things are done locally.
Exactly. How does lunch fit into the workday? What's the local view on rest? When do families typically gather? All these cultural habits shape when people eat lunch and what they eat. It's deeply tied to the local way of life.
Fascinating. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Let's get into the science. What's actually happening in our bodies? Why is lunch biologically important?
Well, the core idea, according to the sources, is energy, plain and simple. Food equals fuel.
Calories.
Right. Your body turns food into energy. And by midday, that energy you got from breakfast, it's usually running low. Lunch is basically topping up the tank.
And this is directly relevant for you listening right now. You know that feeling. Mid-afternoon, suddenly you're tired, maybe a bit grumpy, can't focus.
The infamous slump.
Yeah. The sources say that's often low blood sugar. Your energy reserves are depleted, so lunch is key to fighting that off, keeping you sharp and focused.
Totally. And it's not just about eating, it's what you eat. That makes a huge difference.
Okay, tell me more.
The sources really emphasize getting a good mix. Protein is important. Think eggs, chicken, fish, tofu, beans.
Things that stick with you.
Exactly. And fiber. From vegetables, whole grains. That combination helps you feel full longer and keeps your energy levels nice and stable. Avoids those big spikes and crashes you get from, say, super sugary stuff.
Right. And what about our internal clocks, circadian rhythms? Do the sources mention that?
They do. It's interesting. Apparently, a lot of people naturally have a dip in alertness sometime between, say, noon and 2 p.m. It's just how our bodies are wired.
The post-lunch dip.
Kinda, yeah. But the insight here is that your lunch can either help you push through that natural dip, or it can make it way worse.
How so?
Well, if you eat something really heavy, fatty, or sugary, it can actually make you feel more sleepy during that window. But a balanced, healthy lunch can help you stay alert. It really is brain food, like the sources say.
Okay, so lunch fuels the body, fuels the brain. But it's more than that, isn't it? The sources talk a lot about the social side.
Oh, massively. It's not just biology, it's connection.
Totally. Think about it, school cafeterias, right? How many friendships start there?
Or business deals.
Yeah. Let's break that down. What do the sources say about specific social contexts, like school?
For kids, lunch is huge socially. It's maybe less about the nutrition, honestly, and more about that downtime, talking, laughing, sharing food maybe, just connecting with friends, taking a break from lessons. It's vital.
I remember that. And what about work?
The workplace lunch can be really significant. The sources mention how many important conversations, maybe even deals, get done over a meal. It's seen as a way to build relationships, build trust.
Hence, business lunch or power lunch.
Exactly. Those terms exist for a reason. They signal that something more than just eating is going on. It's strategic, in a way.
And families.
Yeah, especially maybe on weekends or holidays, lunch can be a real anchor. A time to gather everyone, catch up, share stories, just enjoy being together.
A moment of reunion.
And even in politics, the sources mention lunch meetings between world leaders or those big power lunches with CEOs. It's a tool for connection and negotiation at almost every level of society.
It's woven into everything. So much so, it's even in our language, right? The sources pointed out some common phrases.
Oh yeah, definitely. It shows how central it is, culturally.
Yeah.
Like, if someone's out to lunch.
Means they're kind of spaced out, not paying attention.
Exactly. Just connected. Or that classic saying, there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Meaning nothing's truly free, everything has a cost or a catch.
Right. A fundamental economic or social principle, really. Then you have the straightforward ones, like lunch break.
The time you get off work to eat.
Yep. And just casually saying, hey, let's do lunch.
Which is often more about wanting to meet up and chat than the actual food itself.
Often, yeah. It's an invitation to connect.
So it's not just fueling us, it's literally part of how we speak. Okay, so wrapping this all together, based on everything in these sources, what are some solid practical tips for making lunch, better?
Well, the first one that comes up is planning ahead.
The eternal advice.
Yeah. But the sources suggest packing a healthy lunch if you can. It helps you avoid grabbing less healthy stuff on impulse when you're suddenly starving.
Good point. What else?
Balance is key. Try to get some carbs, some protein, some veggies in there. Keeps that energy steady like we talked about.
Right, avoiding the crash.
Third, hydration. Simple but important. Drink water with your lunch.
Easy to forget that one.
And fourth, if it's at all possible with your schedule, try not to rush it. Step away from the screen, actually taste your food, give your brain a proper break.
Easier said than done sometimes, but definitely a good goal. Any other tips?
Yeah, one final one from the sources that's actually kind of fun. Use lunch to explore.
How do you mean?
Like try something new, especially given all this global variety we just talked about. Use your lunch break to metaphorically travel.
Ooh, I like that.
The sources suggest things like maybe try Korean bibimbap one day, or Lebanese falafel, or Brazilian feijoada, or some kind of Italian pasta you haven't had. Mix it up.
That's a great idea. A mini adventure midday. So I guess the big takeaway from this whole deep dive is lunch is way more than just food.
Absolutely. It's history, it's culture bouncing around the globe, it's science keeping you going, it's how we connect with each other, it's even in our words, it's unexpectedly deep.
It really is.
So maybe the next time you sit down for lunch, whether it's a sandwich at your desk or big family meal, just take a second. Think about all those layers, the history, the culture, the energy, the connection, the language, all wrapped up in that one simple act. What's your lunch telling you about your world?
That's a fantastic thought to end on. What a journey through the world of lunch, all thanks to this source material. Really makes you think differently about something so routine.